this is the locations. Now, one thing I'm going to kind of close in up here at the top. Well, let's go down here in the middle and get a better view with the writing. So you see places like Rock Ridge, you come across, and it's got spurs and yards. That's what the S and Y stands for. And the total length of track in the town is 4,021 feet, and used is 2009. Now you notice right below it, Rocky Loop is all zeros. And you come across Yardmaster is new. I have to get into that one. And then you have the edit button. And we'll get into that in just a second. But let's just say something about this fact that Rocky Loop is zero. Rocky Loop is a place on the railroad. When you're building your manifest and a train operator is going across the train, Rocky Loop's got a siding there. And for everybody that's ever been in the SP, that this is a playoff on Tehachapi Loop. It's opposite in direction, but it works exactly the same way. But there's a siding there. So you need to designate that place on the manifest as a spot on the railroad that their train's going to come to, even though there's no tracks there that you're going to pick up or leave cars. But you want it to show up on the manifest, particularly for new operators who are coming to your layout. They have no clue. They see a panel or whatever, you got a sign that says Rocky Loop. They know that, okay, then my next stop I got to be looking for, in this case, would be Love Pass going one way, and be Golden going the other way. So this is just an example. Now, this is done in alphabetical order. It's not done in layout order. But let's go over here and let's click on the edit button for Rock Ridge. Now you see all of the spurs at Rock Ridge. There's Apex Latex, tracks 1 and 2. There's CNA, and that's the Claiborne and Allen Building Materials Company, named after, Rock Ridge. That's the two gentlemen who were the sheriff and the deputy, Tim Allen, and the whole group. So anyway, enough on that. We have Central Baking Dock. We have Coca-Cola. We have Farmers Co-op, Glazer, Hoffa Cement. They're all there. So you have to get in and you create spurs. So when you come up here, you'll see a location can have spur, yards, classification, interchange tracks, and staging. Okay, so if I go here and I click on yard tracks, then it'll go and show me my 3 yard tracks at Golden. We ran out, we needed more space, so we went and robbed some space along a spur that had a long lead back to the chip unloading to put some cars in. Now, it tells you how long those sidings are and how much is used, how many cars are there, and so forth. If I had trains built, which I don't, I'm sorry, the pickups and setouts would show. Now, the interesting part here is I can click the edit button on that spur, and then it comes up over here, and I can go to Tools, and you click Show Cars, and that was track 1. And there's the cars that are in track 1. The number, the road number, the type, the length. Is it empty or loaded? Where it is, it's in Rockridge Yard Track 1. And this is another interesting part right here. So you understand how this program works. There's the biggest part of it right there. That tells you, since I started this about a year and a half ago, maybe a year and 3/4 ago, that's how many times the car has moved. 66. The program goes after the lowest number. It's going to move the lowest number car first. If it's got some place where it can take that car and move it to, it will go after that car. So, if you got an problem, an error, then you can hit the edit button again, and over here you get the car. And widen this out a little bit here. Now I'm going to cover this another part called cars, so you can do some fixing if you have to right there. You can also click set and move the car. You can also move the whole track if you want to. Because believe me, we have done a lot of modifications on this program. So I'm going to go back, and while I'm going back, we're going to take a little stop here. Locations, spurs, yards, staging tracks, all of them are going to revolve around all these car types. As you enter car types into the system, you're going to do locations, then you're going to do spurs. Okay, excuse me, locations, spurs, that's all part of locations, but then you're going to start putting cars in. You're going to, and this is the case of the spurs at Rockridge. This is the yard at Rockridge. So I can sit there and say, all the industries in Rockridge, all I have to do is go down, and if you've thought about what you're doing, you check off all the car types that they're going to take. And you got them. Car types are important. If you kind of look here at tank cars, and this is a very big point. Look at the tank cars. We got Terry tank carriers, Kero serum, tank car oil, tank vegetable oil, tank anhydrous ammonia. We have tank chemical, tank diesel, tank ethanol, tank LP, tank, oh, can't read it with my glasses. Man, that's penethanol. I don't have any of those on the layout. I got tank sulfur. We got some of those, but they don't go here. Tank, and then we come to wood chip cars. But you see all those tank cars? Believe me, that's how you control. Initially, this is how you control the movement of your cars and your railroad. So you notice that there's no tank vegetables or ammonia or any of these checked off for Rockridge, because there's no industries that take those cars. So I don't want to have them sitting in an area which I'm strapped for space in a small yard area, interchange tracks really almost. I don't want to tie up space with manifest freights dumping cars in there, and believe me, this program will dump a car anywhere that it's given permission to. It likes to fill up spaces. So if it's not needed there, don't check it off. That does not come into play when you get to staging. When you get to staging, you want to have every car that you have on a railroad checked off. So it's just easy to say select all, okay? Staging wants to accept everything. And also I have some yards at the bottom we build trains out of that we want to do select all. So that's, you're going to run into this sheet with the cars on anytime you open up, and I'll go up here and open up No Name City. Here's a kind of a good, this is an interesting one. So No Name City has got exactly one place. It's the depot. And it takes exactly one type of car. An LCL box. On this railroad, long story, won't go into it in depth, but when we created this after the FRA broke up the UP, we found a bunch of almost perfect condition 40-foot boxcars. So the board of directors decided that they were going to run a less than carload express service out over the mountains, so it could take care of all the small towns and they could get deliveries without having to wait on places during the winter. So we run 40-foot boxcars to the depots that handles our LCS service. So the town of No Name City up here, I'm gonna get there, No Name City has a depot. It's the only track there. No Name City Depot, and it has 170-foot length of track, and there's 142 you've used. There's 3 cars sitting there, and of course we don't have any trains built, so forth. So here's a case of how you restrict what goes there. Now you can go a little bit step further on this, and this is another critical part. Up here at the top is spurs serviced by trains traveling east. We don't want to having manifest freights doing runarounds to use, we want all trailing point switch moves. So this is serviced only by eastbound trains. Any train will set out stuff, any train will pick up. And there's a lot of ways to utilize a lot of this stuff. You're going to have to play with all the aspects of this. I call these all limiting factors. You can limit what trains do. Down here, you get into this section and you start seeing all the things that options you have. But this particular spur allows any train to pick up, any train to set out. But that's not totally true. First of all, you got to tell a train to stop here. You've got to build a route for the train, and No Name City Depot has got to be in the route, and in the route you have to authorize it to pick up and set out cars. So lots of steps here involved to making it all work. So what we wanted to do here, the point we're trying to get to, very simple, is we have No Name City. So you go down here to the bottom, you click the add button, you get this. So we're going to put in up here at the top XXX, okay, and then we're going to go to the bottom and we're going to click add, and when it adds it, it comes up this way. All the boxes are selected, east and west and so forth. Now this is a location, it's not a spur. So let's just say this is a new town on the railroad and they do everything, okay? So then you're going to add a spur, which is right here. You click add a spur, and we're going to call this XXX and Z. That's the spur. Now here's the next part, the length of the spur. You get your handy dandy tape measure out and you measure it, and the spur is 20 inches long. So you type in 20, hit the shift key, and then the parenthesis above it, and then you click on this next here. Let's say it's you hit add, excuse me, Now, once you put your measurement in inches in, you go down to the bottom and you hit add spur track. Okay? And we're going to take the east out and we'll say it's west. We're going to go in here and track accepts all things. Okay? We're going to need to, let me enlarge this box. Enlarge the picture here a little bit. And we're going to come over here and we're going to do right here, clear all. So now we've deselected everything. And we're going to play like this is a beer industry. And it takes boxcars RBLs. That's insulated boxcars that they ship beer in. And then we're going to click, and it's going to be serviced by any train going in, set-outs, pickups, optional schedules we're not going to talk about. Track accepts all loads, track accepts all loads. We're not going to talk about this one either. Roads, no, I don't have anything here. Load option is a game you can play later. Do not want to get into setting schedules and loads until you get the whole thing working. Because if you start playing schedules and loads, you're going to find a lot of stuff stops working. So we're going to add spur. Oh, it already exists. I'm sorry. We added the spur. Save spur because we changed it to the box. We want to hit the save button right there, and then we want to close it. Now, if you come back here, you see we now have XXYZ spur, and that 20 inches got converted into 145 feet. Okay. If you go back here, close this window, you see XXX, that was our location. We hit the edit button, then there's our XXXY spur that we added to the location. So here you have the thing that you have to do first. You're going to start at one end of your railroad, and you're going to work you all the way across your railroad to the other end, and you're going to put all your location, all your spurs, all your yards. I would suggest you read up between what a yard is in the classification track and then your staging tracks. There's one other thing that's very, very important about this program. Loads change only in two places. When you build a train, and the train is run across the railroad and the cars are set out into a spur, and the train then goes back into staging at the other end, and you terminate the train, all cars that went into a spur and all cars who ended up back in staging who had E's for empties will now become L's as loaded. Those are the only two places that swap E's and L's. Spurs and staging. I can tell you a story here on what I had to do, because I use E's and L's to make cars move. And that gets into and you start watching this program and what it does, you'll quickly get an understanding of what you have to do to make certain things happen. But the ethanol plant on the ethanol cars only takes empties. The gasoline manufacturing plant where the ethanol is blended only takes full ethanol cars. The yards in between take either empties or fulls. It's a way that gets the program to moving cars in the direction you want it to go in without getting into loads and schedules and so forth. Now, they're all there for those people who want to do them. So we've talked about locations enough here, so let's move on. And I'm going to get a sip of something to drink. Point to be made here about staging and locations. This is the golden location on the railroad called golden. Once you select staging for a location, you do not have any other options. You can't click anything else. It's a part of the program that, because staging is unique, and what happens in staging with a lot of different aspects of the program, nothing else can take place there. So just a point to make, when you set up a location and it's staging only, you click that button staging, you can't click anything else. If something else is clicked, you can't add staging to it. Alright, talking about cars, and this is the car sheet, the car section of the railroad. We're going to, one of the important factors on this sheet, and this sheet is nothing more than a giant Excel spreadsheet. There's a little box down here at the bottom called Find, and the blank box next to it. I've taken a car off the railroad here, and it's car number 24095. Don't know where this car goes. Believe me, this is a common occurrence on your railroad. It goes right to the car and it tells you where the computer thinks it is. Apex Wex Apex, and it's on the, that's the location, and the spur it's on is the West Apex team track. Now, that one turned out right. Didn't have to go, you know, because that's where I got it from. But this part here becomes critical. See, I went and found it. It highlights it, so now you know where it is. Good way to find cars when you start looking for things and they get out of place. There's another thing you can do about showing cars and locations to see if all the right cars are there also.